Greetings of peace. In our series on wealth inequality, we have in the past looked at wealth inequality in America and in India. Today we intend to discuss about wealth inequality in Britain. In Britain, just like as in America and in India, there is a tremendous problem of wealth inequality. In fact, the data is out there, but the presentation that I'm referring to is again a case of a perfect presentation, and we will include the entire presentation as is. The wealth inequality in Britain presentation is clearly inspired by the wealth inequality in America presentation. We would have a look at the presentation and then come back for a brief discussion after the presentation. So here goes the presentation in full.
In Britain, we take pride from living in a fair country. We believe that everyone should be given a chance in life to prosper through skill and hard work, whether as a care worker, shop assistant, soldier, civil servant, or company boss. However, is Britain as fair as it seems to be? How is wealth distributed in Britain today? Imagine the total wealth of the UK is £100. Now, imagine these people represent the population of the country. A new ICM poll asked 2,000 British people how this wealth should be distributed, from those with less wealth to those with more. As you can see, we think it's right that some people have more wealth than others. In a really fair Britain, we say, the richest fifth would have 25 of these coins. That's 25% of all the wealth, while the poorest fifth would have around 15. Even in our ideal world, some people will always have more than others. But we know we don't live in an ideal world. So next, the poll asked what we think is the actual distribution of wealth. As you can see, the results are quite different. We think that in Britain, the poorest fifth now has about 9% of the wealth, while the richest has more than 40%. That's £40 out of every 100. Doesn't seem very fair until you see what the real situation is. Not what we think it is, or how we think it should be, but how it really is. We can now see that Britain is not such a fair country after all. The fact is that the richest 20% have 60% of all the wealth. That's almost twice as much as everyone else put together, and 100 times more than the bottom 20% have. And the richest 1%? Well, they're off the scale. In fact, they have as much wealth as 60% of the population of the UK combined. As for the poorest fifth, if £100 were the total wealth, they would not even have a whole pound. Next to the richest fifth's £60, they would only have 60 pence. That's small change. This is the result of over 30 years of growing inequality. If this trend continues, it will be even harder to call Britain a fair country. Learn more at www.inequalitybriefing.org.
Okay, so now that we have had a look at the presentation, you can see the problem of wealth inequality is not just limited to America or in India, it's also as problematic in Britain as it is in the other countries. For example, the statistics are shocking. The statistics say that the top 20% of Britain, the richest 20% of Britain, they own almost twice the wealth, double the wealth of the rest of the Britain combined. The top 20%, they contain almost twice the wealth of the rest of the population combined. The top 20% contains about 100 times more wealth than the bottom 20%. And if you compare the top 1%, the top 1% has a wealth of more than 60% of the population. So this is how disproportionate the problem of wealth distribution has become. And similar to the previous examples of America and India, the problem of inequality, wealth inequality in Britain has grown to this extreme state in the last 30 years. So this was a case study about Britain, about the wealth inequality in Britain, and we will continue with the series with other data, the global data, and some other examples in the future. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.